For one thing, I've got my brother here, and we were very blessed growing up. We were given a tremendous advantage in life that we had a mom and dad that loved the Lord. They loved each other, and they loved their children. And that is a huge advantage in life. And one thing I would like to challenge you men, you men that have children, you want your children to be successful. And the best way for that is for you to have a personal relationship with Christ, to love him with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind. The other thing is if the best way is to love the mother of your children, love her. Pray for your children. Pray a blessing over your children every day. And, one thing I think a lot of times in life, we trivialize God's blessing. How many times does somebody sneeze and we say, God bless you? Or you see somebody and you say, God bless you. When you're asking God's blessing, you're asking for supernatural favor is what you're asking for. So please don't trivialize that blessing. But ask a blessing on your children every day. Bless them. Ask the Lord to give them no less or no more than he wants for those children every day. And we should pray that blessing for ourselves. Jabez was mentioned just one time in the entire Bible. It's 1 Chronicles 4, 9, and 10. And he's mentioned because it says Jabez was more honorable than his brothers. And Jabez prayed one prayer, and it's verse 10 of 1 Chronicles 4:10. And he prayed that God would bless him. He prayed that God would increase his territory. He prayed that God would have his hand on him and he would keep him from evil. There is nothing wrong. There is nothing being greedy about asking God's blessing on you and your family every day. So please, men, take the lead in your home and pray for your children. Pray for your wife. And when I'm talking about praying, that doesn't necessarily mean a sermonette over them, what they're doing wrong. You're going to pray, go through their wrongs and rights when you pray for them. But pray for your children that they know Jesus. Pray that they marry men and women that know Jesus. Pray that they honor him, and pray that they take a lead in their lives. It's so important as men. I think the men in this country need to take more lead in their walk with Christ, especially in their own home. I can tell you, Johnny and I grew up with a dad. He worked 6 days a week. We would go to our grandparents on the weekends. I had grandparents that were sick, so our mom would a lot of times would stay and fix breakfast or lunch. But my dad got up, got us children to church every Sunday he possibly could, and that is a tremendous advantage in life. So I just challenge you men to do that. The baseball part in my life, this is my 26th year as a player, coach, or manager in the major leagues, and I would have taken 26 days in the major leagues, so I have been very, very blessed. I know Luke said something about being level or balanced. I can tell you my walk has helped my balance as much as anything, because the highs and lows are tremendous, and they come quick and they come daily in this game. I can remember a game when I was playing with the Angels. I was a backup catcher, didn't play a whole lot. I had a game in Anaheim, 4th of July, packed house. My first at bat, I struck out with a man on. The next time I struck out, I think with the bases loaded. I had people all over me yelling and screaming at me, booing me. It's calling me every name in the book. My last at bat, I hit a home run with 2 guys on to win the game. I got the curtain call, the whole bit. So the lows and the highs. A balance in life, and I get that from Colossians 3:23. Whatsoever you do, do it heartily for the Lord and not as unto man. Everything that we do in life, we should be trying to impress God and not other people. Impress him every day with the way you live your life, conduct your life, the way you treat other people. And don't worry about No, God, people, we see what we do and other people do, but God sees our heart. Everything that we do should be done out of what God, because he can see our heart. They touched on a couple other things. Accountability, we've got accountability in our clubhouse, in our coaches' room. We've got some very strong believers, and we do keep each other accountable. You guys need to have somebody in your life that you're close to, that knows the Lord, that you can share with, that will keep you accountable in everything that you do. It's tremendous to have that person. I've been on a club before that I did not have that, and I kind of went my own way a lot of times. I was the manager of the Reds. I'll give you another high and low. In 2006, I was the manager of the Reds, and we were in first place. We didn't get eliminated until the next to last day of the season. I was the smartest guy in Cincinnati in 2006. 2007, we were in last place in July, and I was the biggest dummy in the world, and I got fired. A high and a low. But to show you God's plan and how it works, I had a son in high school. It just worked out that I went home, and he wanted to live with me, and I spent the next 3 years staying at home with my son. Greatest blessing I've ever had in my life, spending time with my son. But, if I would have kept winning there in Cincinnati, I'd have probably gotten off the wrong track, and no telling where my son would have been, what he'd been influenced by. God had a plan. We graduated from high school. All along, I had different clubs call me about big league coaching jobs. And I had a couple guys call me about 2011, last year, about coaching in the big leagues. And one of them I was real close to taking, but Doug Melvin called me. He just hired Ron Renicky to be the manager, and he wanted me to talk with Ron. So I flew up here one Saturday morning, and I talked to Ron, and there's no way I was going to work for Ron Renicky after listening to him. I'm telling you, it just didn't go well. I don't know if you've ever been in an interview before that didn't go well, but there was some things I just wasn't on the same page with, or it just wasn't working. And Ron gets on me because he said that we were having breakfast, and he said I was sitting there with my phone under the table texting the whole time while he was trying to talk to me. So I probably deserved it. But I got home that night, and the other guy called me and asked me how it went, and I said, right now I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to take a few days to make a decision. But I told him, I was honest with him. I said I didn't think the interview went very well. And the next day, Ron Renicky called me, and he said, I didn't want to say anything in front of the general manager, but he said, I heard you're a born-again Christian. I want to know about your faith. And I shared with him, and he shared his faith with me, and I just really felt like the Lord was leading me to come to Milwaukee. So a couple days later, I called the other guy back, and I said, I'm coming to Milwaukee. I had plans to go somewhere else for a lot of different reasons. But when Ron called me back and said he wanted me on his staff, not only for my baseball experience and knowledge, but because I was a believer. And he said he wanted that on his staff. And I understood that accountability thing, how it's good to have a believer along with you. And I can tell you, baseball-wise, it's the best thing I could have possibly have done. Ron is an outstanding baseball guy, outstanding manager, outstanding person. I've had a chance to grow as a baseball person and as a person by being around Ron Renicky, and we're very fortunate to have him here as the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers. I came out last year. The crowd's bigger this year than it was last year. Hopefully next year it'll be even bigger. It's a great event. Y'all are very fortunate to have Wayne here at the church. He helps so many people on our ball club, and we have a great fellowship with him. I get on him about being goofy sometimes, but he's goofy for the Lord, and that's a tremendous passion that he has. But you're very fortunate to have him here. Coos says during the baseball season he doesn't get a chance to come here very often, but every Sunday morning he's late getting to the ballpark, and he says he's been at church, so I don't know what the heck he's doing. But we have some strong believers. I'd like to say one other thing about Corey Hart, too. The thing that impresses me about Corey is there are a lot of deathbed conversions, but this is a man that had everything the world could possibly offer and knew he was missing something, and he knew where to find it. I love Corey Hart's story as much as any story I've ever been around, because we see the guys making all the money. They get a little upset. They go out and buy something new. If there's a little something missing in their lives, they'll go buy a new necklace or a new car or something, But Corey Hart knew something was missing. He knew exactly what was missing, and he gave himself to Jesus Christ. And it's a great story from Corey Hart. Coos, I'll keep rambling on here, so you better give it over to somebody
That's all right.
else.
We love hearing you, Jerry. So, hey, thanks.